What's up guys, Enkiri here. I'm sitting in a hotel room today. I do apologize for the poor lighting, but I got a little bit of time to kill and I figured I would make this video that I've actually wanted to make for quite some time. Mostly as a reference piece for my clients, to be honest, but you guys are free to use this info too, obviously, and I hope that it helps some of you guys out. So I'm going to try to keep it brief here today, okay? All we're really going to do is go over the bar warm-up process for weight training. So essentially how to get to your prescribed training weight for the day on any given exercise. And so this is kind of going to be a universal concept, right? We're not talking here about the generalized concept of warming up the body and increasing the core temperature or the heart rate or anything like that. So kind of the idea where people tell you that you need to do some jumping jacks or hop on a stationary bike and pedal easy for a few minutes or any of that kind of thing. We're not talking about that stuff today. We're not talking about the other aspects that you typically hear in terms of a warm-up, things like soft tissue mobilization, joint mobility, muscle activation work, or anything like that, right? Those aspects are all important components of a comprehensive warm-up, especially on particular exercises. However, they are often better served as specific to the individual in question based on his or her needs. What we are going to cover, however, it's often a misunderstood topic about weight training, and that is the specific bar warm-up for strength and hypertrophy work. Now, this comes after you've done your own mobility and activation work and all the other crap that you're supposed to be doing, right? And now you're ready to put the bar on your back or hold it in your hands. It doesn't really matter anymore what lift you're doing that day, right? Because the process here now at this point is pretty much universal, and it's actually incredibly simple. I essentially just use a ramp-up process, right, where you slowly add weight to the bar while tapering down the reps that you're doing in each set. And you can take bigger jumps at first when the weight is kind of lighter, and then you should take smaller and smaller jumps as you get closer and closer to your training weight for that day. Now, it's very important to remember, this is the most important part of the video. Our goal here with this process is simply to get ourselves up to our training weight for the day. We're going to accomplish three things. We're trying to accomplish three things in doing so, right? We're trying to maximize nervous system activation. We're trying to optimally prime the specific motor pattern that we're working that day. And three, we're trying to accomplish both of those first two aspects while minimizing fatigue accumulation along our way up the ramp. So, how do we accomplish those three things? Well, no matter who you are, you start with the empty bar. An old adage that I learned a long time ago. I heard it from Donnie Schenkel, and I think it has served me well. It was, even the strongest man in the world starts with the empty bar. Okay, so we all start with the empty bar. Unless we're deadlifting off the floor, then you can't really start with the empty bar. But whenever you can, you start with the empty bar. Feel out the movement. Use the empty bar. Feel the movement out. Nice and controlled. Use a full range of motion. Knock out 10, maybe 15 reps, okay? Then you rack it. You take 20 or 30 seconds. You gather yourself. And then if you feel nice, then you can start adding weight. If you still feel a little bit creaky after that first set with the empty bar, then you do another set with the empty bar, right? For this example here today, I'm going to use squatting, right, as my example to illustrate in this video. And we'll say we're going to have a dude who's trying to work up to 405 pounds, 4 wheels, and he's going to do 5 sets of 3 reps at 405, right? So that's going to be a relatively heavy weight for this lifter using that type of a workout. It's challenging, but very doable, right? It'll probably be something in the 85 to 90% range tops. But now, so this guy, he's already done, our hypothetical lifter, he's already done his mobility work, right? His joint mobility work specific to his needs. He's done his activation work, all that other crap. He just hit some air squats, just some empty body weight squats, and now he's all prepped and he's ready to move on to his bar work. So he starts with the empty bar, right? He knocks out maybe 10 or 15 reps, and he's feeling good. His body's moving pretty well. He doesn't feel like he needs to do another set there with the empty bar just to get things loosened up. So he adds some weight instead. He moves up to 135 pounds, about 60 kg, right? Here, he'll move nice and controlled still. He's still really feeling out the pattern and making sure that everything is going to keep moving smoothly and efficiently, especially on the way down. He wants to really dial things in, and then he wants to be explosive but controlled on his way back up. And with 135 pounds, he's gonna do 5, maybe 10 reps. Then he's gonna rest probably just 30 to 60 seconds, really just as long as it takes him to load up the bar and get prepped for the next set. Now, he's gonna jump up to 185 pounds. And here, he may taper the reps down slightly and just do something like 5 to 7 reps with this weight. Still nice and controlled, but focusing on moving a bit more briskly through that eccentric phase now. He's a little bit looser now, and he wants to move a little bit more swiftly on the way down now, and maybe even utilize a little bit more of that stretch reflex that he's gonna be using on his top sets, on his working sets. After that, he's gonna rest very briefly again, and then he's gonna load up 235 pounds. Here, he's gonna knock out 3 to 5 reps. He's still tapering the reps down, right? With each set, as the bar weight goes up, the reps taper down. Now, after this set, he might actually take a small breather, an actual rest, maybe just of 1 to 2 minutes tops. He doesn't wanna wait too long. He doesn't want to let himself start to cool down. He's still warming up, right? He just wants to gather himself and kind of let things stabilize. It's not a hard weight for him. It's really just it's going to be in the vicinity of about 50% of his 1 rep max at this point. But he wants to let everything acclimate to the stress that is now beginning to crescendo. After that, he loads 285 pounds onto the bar. And here, he's going to do just 3 to 5 reps with this weight. He's moving really comfortably now. Things are starting to feel smooth, and he's going to be still controlled, but he's moving a lot more explosively now. Everything is starting to get dialed in. The tissues are really warmed up at this point. The motor pattern is starting to feel crisp, and all that is good stuff. He takes another 1, maybe 2 minutes of rest tops now, and then he loads 325 pounds onto the bar, right? So now the jumps are getting a little bit smaller. Here, he's gonna knock out just 2 to 3 reps with this weight, right? He's really tapering the reps down now at this point. After that, he'll rest another 1 to 2 minutes, still a pretty short break in between here, and then he loads 355 pounds onto the bar, and with that weight, he does just 1 to 2 reps. After that, he gives himself a solid 2 minutes to gather himself. The rest gets a little bit longer now, right? Instead of being 1 to 2 minutes, now he's actually gonna take that full 2 minutes here to really gather himself, rest up, recover, and get ready for the next primer set. With that, he's gonna load up 375 pounds. And there he'll knock out 1, maybe 2 reps at that weight. After another full 2 minutes of rest, he loads 395 pounds onto the bar. And here, he does one final single, a primer single, just to get himself ready to go. It's crisp, sharp, locked and loaded, and now he's ready to rock, man. After that last single, that last primer lift, he's gonna rest another 2 minutes, and then he will begin his working sets with 405 pounds. The warm-up process is now completed. All told, this process, which is 8 total ramp-up sets, not including that work with the empty bar, is gonna take roughly just 15 to 20 minutes to complete in total. It's pretty reasonable, right? Not excessive, not crazy, and it's really something that should be expected when you are hoping to be able to lift heavy weights consistently like this over a period of many years and continually build those qualities, those strength qualities up higher and higher. And something like this, a process like this warm-up, this ramp-up, has to be built into the process of training because it is part of the process of training. You can't optimize your gains in the long run, both for strength or hypertrophy, if you're not committed to each vital component of those processes and methodically climbing the ladder. Every single training session is one such vital component. And unfortunately, it's one that often gets neglected, either due to laziness or due to ignorance. So to sum it all up, if you're paying attention, you probably noticed that we are taking rough percentage jumps here approximate to this dude's 1 rep max on the squat, right? Now, you don't have to know your 1 rep max to execute a process like this. You just have to do a reasonable ramp up process, taking reasonable jumps and kind of adjusting as the RPE goes up, right? This is a process that I've talked about many times before in the past. You don't need to know your 1 rep max, but here, just kind of for illustrative purposes, we've got this guy, he's squatting 405 for a 5x3, right? So that's going to be about, we'll just call it here 87% of his 1 rep max, right? So if this was 87% of the 1RM, then this 405 would be a pretty good training weight for a session like this, for a tough 5x3 like this. And that would put his actual max right around 465 pounds, right? So then you can see that his warm-up sets would be, they would be accordingly. And then after that, he would start his working sets with about 87, maybe 88% of his 1 rep max. So you can use this same general guideline for any lift, any barbell lift, regardless of what your 1 rep max is or how strong you are. Obviously the numbers and the actual numbers and the actual jumps are going to have to change depending on how strong you are and how strong you are on any particular lift, but this same general guideline is always going to hold true, right? And it's always going to get you properly ramped up to your designated working weight, or at least the vicinity that you want to be in, getting you properly ramped up to a challenging area where you actually want to be performing your working sets, your training sets. And it's going to do that while minimizing fatigue or accrual and maximizing nervous system potentiation, as well as refreshing and drilling in the proper motor pattern itself, right? Those are the 3 goals here, the 3 most important parts that we want to accomplish. So just as your kind of general guideline, your general rule of thumb, all you have to really remember is the weight goes up. As the weight goes up, the jumps gradually get smaller and smaller, right? As you get closer to the ceiling, the jumps need to get smaller and smaller. As you get closer to the training weight that you want to use that day, the jumps need to get gradually smaller and smaller. Nothing crazy, but gradually. As the weight gets heavier, the reps also taper down, right? So this process here, this exact process, we're getting in more reps with lighter weights, right? That gives us a chance to warm up the tissues as well as to dial in that motor pattern without creating too much unnecessary fatigue. We're priming the nervous system at a level that is not challenging for the muscles, right? And then as the weight gets heavier, we start hitting, we're primed, we're crisp, we're ready to go now. So now we start hitting those crisp, sharp singles, doubles, and triples with those somewhat heavier weights, those weights that are a little bit more challenging. That is what gives the nervous system a chance to really wake up and get the juices flowing before you actually start to attack your training weights for the day. As well, you could also take a couple extra smaller jumps near the top. If you were somebody who, if you were having trouble like kind of getting up that day, really to get going that day, or if you're just somebody who feels more comfortable taking smaller jumps, especially as the weight gets heavier, you could do that. You could cut those percentage points down a little bit, and you could take some smaller jumps near the top and just do singles with those weights to really kind of get yourself primed and get yourself going. Another option is to actually overshoot the working weight for the day by a small amount, maybe just 5 or 10%. So you work up higher than what you plan to do your working sets with, you do a single there, and then you come back down to the working weight. The idea is to make it feel lighter, right? So then you're really charged up, you're ready to rock because you overshot. You went heavier than you were even going to be lifting that day. But kind of just in general, if you're working with heavier weights, you'll probably want to stick with the lower ends of the rep ranges that I've presented here in this video. And then if you're working with lighter weights, you'll probably want to move towards the higher ends of those rep ranges that I've shown in this video, right? Because the rep ranges that you're going to be using for your working sets are going to be higher anyway. So you're going to want to log more reps during the warm-up process as well. So there's always going to be some variability, right? But this template is really, it's going to get you started very nicely. And then obviously as you kind of develop your own preferences, you can tweak it to your own liking from there, as long as you maintain the primary guidelines that are listed in this video, which, what are they? Your bar warm-up, right? 3 most important factors. Your bar warm-up should, 1, maximize nervous system activation. 2, optimally prime the specific motor pattern that you are working. And 3, minimize fatigue accumulation along the way. Some fatigue accumulation is necessary, but you don't want to exceed the minimum necessary threshold that's required to achieve the first 2 goals. And that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to cover here today, guys. If you have any questions or if you think I missed something important, I did kind of blow through this, so it's possible that I did. But if so, please feel free to leave me any questions or comments or concerns or addendums in the comments down below, and I'll get to them when I can. Please remember to smash the like button before you go. Leave me some love in the comments as well. And if you found this video to be helpful, then please feel free to share it around as well. The algo boost, I can always use it. Lastly, if you enjoy this style of content, then you should check out my Patreon also. Everything that I post there is really similar to this type of video. It's this exact style of highly informative content. It's not just Q&As, it's also articles that I write and post up there. So if you like this kind of video, you'll probably enjoy the content that I post over there. Anyway, check out EnkiriEliteFitness.com for online coaching and training programs, and keep training hard, everybody. I'll catch you guys next time.